So yeah, good evening to YouTube as well. Hello. So we're here for something Next.js, a little bit repetitive to the peeps that are already with us. Sorry about that. A little bit on upcoming events. We've got a lean agile coffee after the React one. We're going Python, so data science, IoT, all of those wonderful things. If you're doing it, by all means join us next week. It should be good. Following that, digital investigations at Norfolk Constabulary. Again, a bit of data science. That should be a really interesting. I'm looking forward to that one. Then following up, what's new in MariaDB 10.5? Now, apparently it's a fairly large release, and plenty of, as PHP developers at least, are using MariaDB day in, day out. So come along and find some of the new features. Many more in the pipeline, as always. Virtual Social Club gives it a mention every week, Fridays, 5:30 till late. Join us whenever. It's always quite fun. There was an incredible list of topics from last week, but cryptocurrency was, as always on that list. Discord, like I say, new hub for Nordev, plenty of conversation going on there and plenty of problem solving as well. So if you've got a question, got a problem that you need to solve, come give us a shout. This week as well, we've launched Patreon. So as some of you may know, we're a non-profit CIC, but we usually rely on Nordev conference, our annual conference, to kind of jimmy us along throughout the year and keep us being able to provide these events to you for free. But with that kind of on a, well, postponed inevitably or indefinitely to some extent, we're looking for new sources of income, and there has been a few suggestions for Patreon. So yeah, the link will be floating around here somewhere. A quick mention as well, we've just launched a new website. It's quite relevant this evening because it is actually an open source Next.js project. So all of the technologies that you'll be seeing this evening are empowering the Nordev website for a few weeks now. Also, as it's an open source project, we're welcoming to contributions. There have already been several valuable contributions to the project. So if you see something that's wrong, come and fix it on GitHub. But if you'd like to improve something, by all means, do that as well. Shout outs this evening. I think we do have Colin in the channel. Are you still, whether or not he's still looking for a developer? We've had many messages today as well, plenty of positions going around. So if you're looking for jobs, do give us a shout. I will clear the room for a few seconds if anyone else has any shout outs in the Zoom.
I should just say the position has been filled, but if anyone is interested in the job at Brew Digital, we're always after, good applicants. So please feel free to drop me a line if you're interested in working with us.
There you go. Brew Digital, Colin Watts, he's in the Discord. He's on the chat today. So yeah, if you want to get in touch, I think his email is already floating around on the chat anyway. But anyway, as usual, I'm going to get out of the way, get on with it, and hand over to first initially Sean. So thank you.
Good evening. Let me see if I can get the screen share going. The little ritual dance that we do. Here we go. Click that button and you should be able to see my browser window. So you may remember once upon a time, you could create an index.html file and an index.javascript file, and you had a website. You could drag and drop those files into some FTP client, whisk them away to a server, and everything would just work that way forever, or so we thought in the beginning. We ran into a few issues with that way of doing things, and although it can be very flexible and very easy to get started, sometimes, as the creators of React found, Facebook, you can run into some interesting issues when you're running imperative code and poking the DOM around, changing things around. And then sometimes by adding and removing classes, you're imposing state in the markup of your website. But that might not quite match the markup in your JavaScript code. And Facebook struggled with this in the famous story of the messages, new message notification. When appearing in different parts of the application, it would sometimes get out of sync, and you'd get that little red badge that told you that you had a new message, and you'd click that button and you'd realize that actually you didn't have a new message. The message it was referring to was just the UI being slightly out of sync, and it had updated one place of the website differently to another place, leaving you to kind of think you were about to get that dopamine hit and then to be sorely disappointed. And in order to solve that problem, Facebook invented React, basically. And this is the kind of origin story of this library. React changed the game a bit by making user interfaces render as a function of a state object, basically. You give a component some data, and given that the data is always the same, the resulting user interface will match. That changed things, made things quite easy, but it did also lead to significant problems in certain ways. Now, let's have a quick look at what that looks like. So I'm assuming that some of you have some familiarity with React apps, but if not, this is the basic, simplest React app that you can have. Now, it renders a header, an H1 tag with the text hello world, into a div with the ID of root, or in fact into any element with the ID of root. And that's kind of cool. We can have a quick look at that in a code pen. This is going to redirect shortly, I think. I don't know why they do it like that. And the index.html file that we mentioned earlier looks really simple. Let me see if I can figure out how to drag this down. So it's just this. Div ID equals root. And then we run this JavaScript code on top of that, and we get the text hello world. That's kind of cool. But there are a few problems with that, because when a search engine visits this HTML file, it doesn't see the text hello world. All it sees is div ID equals root. And then unless it executes the JavaScript, it doesn't ever render the text hello world into this HTML tag. So these sorts of apps became extremely popular on the back of React. And some of you may be familiar with Create React App, which was a framework that made building these kinds of apps much easier. Because in order to produce a production-ready React application, you actually need to do all of this. Now, this is basically what Create React App is doing for you behind the scenes, that you would have to do yourself if you weren't using Create React App, or you'd have to use some other technology. Now, you might not need all of it, but it's likely that you need quite a lot of it. And many of the bits make your application better by having them on board. So Create React App became extremely popular because it solved a lot of these problems. Now, the sort of problems that are being solved in here are bundling the JavaScript code, minifying it, making it so that the files travel over the network between the user and the server, making that transfer of data as minimal as possible, trying to get the code down and the app to feel as fast as it's possible to do. Create React App's great, and it's still really good today. And many apps use it, lots of big companies use it. There are a few problems with it, and one of which, at least historically, is you didn't have direct access to modify the Webpack configurations. That's a problem if you want to do things like solve the problem that we mentioned back here, where search engines or a Facebook crawler, when you embed it on a social network, will not see the hello world text. So to solve that in Create React App, you have to kind of jump through a few hoops, maybe use a thing you may have heard of called Create React App Rewired, which would kind of change it and enable you to modify the configuration. That worked, and that's how I used to do it. We used to render our apps with Create React App, but we built a thing on top of it with a custom Express server to render these apps. And that's fine, but it ended up being quite a lot more complicated than you might imagine just going into it. And when I say server rendering, I mean running the React application on the server with Node.js first, such that the browser and the search engines download the HTML. So you get hello world in the source code. Now, there wasn't really a great way of doing this until around 2016, 2017, when Next.js came onto the scene. Now, oops, didn't mean to click that. Next.js, now you can see here, the React framework for SEO-friendly sites, progressive web apps, Electron apps, you can use it on the desktop, production apps, pre-rendered apps. I'll explain a few of these terms later, static websites, like the Norddev site. And now these are all a bunch of buzzwords, but Next.js is very much leading the charge in this field and inventing new ways of doing things. Now, instead of having an index.html file, Next.js imposes this somewhat controversial initially for a lot of developers technique for doing server-rendered pages. You can see an example here. I hope it's big enough. Let me zoom in slightly. So what this file is a pages index.js file, equivalent as you would have to an index.html file if you were making a simple HTML website. And all it does is export a single function that returns some HTML. When we use this in a Next app, it looks exactly the same as the Hello World app looked in Create React app, with one important difference. When you visit this from a search engine or as a search engine crawler or as a social network crawler, or even as just a user, you get this HTML returned in the initial response. You don't have to wait for any JavaScript to run. This is one of the primary benefits of Next.js. It allows you to have the content of your website delivered immediately on that first request. You don't have to download the HTML and then the JavaScript and then execute the JavaScript in order for the user to see the application on the screen. We'll go into a bit more about what that actually means in a minute. Next does a lot of other cool things for you. So automatic code splitting is one of their most useful things. So if I embed a big bunch of code in the index file, in my about file, I won't make the user download that code. So you can imagine if you just have one bundle and every page downloads that single bundle of JavaScript, the JavaScript for the about page would be included in that bundle. But in the case of Next.js, it deliberately separates them out into separate packages such that if I go directly to the about page, I only download the code necessary for the about page. And I don't have to download code used on other pages that may cause the bundle to be a lot bigger and cause that response time to be a lot slower. And Next gives us a lot of other cool things out of the box, but many of them are very similar to Create React App. So if you're familiar with that, it's very similar. The big difference is the static rendering side of things, the server rendered side, but what also we're going to get into now, which is the pre-rendering functionality. Now, this is one of the main advantages to using Next.js that I've just kind of explained. And you can see here in the documentation for Next.js, it's quite clearly illustrated. You get the initial load, you get a blank page while we download the JavaScript, and then we run the JavaScript and we get a view of the app. But here with Next.js, we actually on the initial load get the HTML. So immediately the response time is faster. Then the JavaScript loads and it rehydrates into the app in the background without the user really noticing anything's happened, and means that you've then got a React app in the client that works exactly as an app from Create React App would. Now, there are two ways of doing this static generation, and I've kind of touched on them both already, but these diagrams really illustrate them well. The static generation is you run the next build command, and at build time, or at time of the deployment of your app, the HTML is created, and if 1 million users visit your application, they'll get that HTML immediately without having to call a database or do any work on the server. Hopefully you can see how that might be useful if you're, if you run an app that might get large traffic spikes, things like that. You don't have to build a huge infrastructure in order to keep them running. You can just pre-generate it all and just stick it on a CDN somewhere, and 1 million people can visit it, and you won't notice really. But it does still allow you to do server-side rendering. Now you might need to do certain operations on a page request. You might genuinely need the data on that page to be as up-to-date as it can be. There might be some necessary reason for the data to be current, and you don't actually care about loading data that's out of date because it's irrelevant now. So you can do that as well. You can run a function on the server to call some data and then render the HTML and then still deliver the HTML to the client in the same way. I hope that makes sense, but if it doesn't, we'll get into some of this in the next few minutes. Now, static generation generates an HTML page. You can also adjust this in Next by generating a bunch of predefined pages. So you can generate 50 pages, if you like, from one file that all have a unique piece of content. So you might do that for a blog post, for example. You could have 50, you could have 100, you could have 150. They all become static HTML files. You can upload those to Amazon S3 or to a content distribution network and distribute them all around the world without any care in the world whether your database server is up or not. And we do this with these cool little kind of helper functions that Next comes with. And what we're going to do in the next, well, probably hour or so, is Chris is going to jump on this call with us. We're going to work through building a simple Next.js app using some of these techniques that hopefully will kind of really help you kind of, if you're not familiar with this stuff, get an idea of how it works. And as we do that, we'll kind of talk about why that's interesting and why it matters, why it's interesting compared to previous techniques. And then hopefully, if we've got time, we'll get into the latest feature that's come out in Next 9.5, which is the incremental static regeneration, which combines the best of both worlds of static and dynamic rendering by distributing static files across the internet while allowing those files to be updated in almost real time or at an interval that you specify, calling up-to-date data. So you can have both current data and static rendered pages that you can distribute on a CDN and let a million people view without worrying about your database server going down, and kind of get the best of both worlds in many cases. So we'll talk about a lot of this in the next few minutes, but I'm going to stop my screen share now, and hopefully Chris will jump in. We're going to jump into a VS Code live share. We're going to see what we can do about building one of these apps similar to this. Now, this is going to be very raw. Neither of us have significantly prepared, and that's intentional because we want these sessions to be like a realistic experience of working as a developer. A lot of these features in Next are quite new. I use Next regularly. We've been using it for a number of years, but actually the features we're going to be using tonight are new in the last couple of months, and we don't use them yet. But we plan to. So I'm learning too. Chris is fairly new to Next, and yeah, we're going to jump in and see how we go. So we welcome questions. Feel free to kind of jump in and interrupt us and tell me if none of this makes any sense. But yeah, I'm going to stop the screen share and stop rambling, and we'll jump in.
Sweet. Let's do the, I'm going to share my screen. Can you see my screen dance?
Yeah.
There you go. Wonderful. So as Sean introduced, we're going to have a quick look at Next, probably for about 45 minutes to an hour. I'm a React developer. That's my day job. I've looked at Next for a grand total of about 15 minutes. So this could be quite entertaining for any experienced developers out there. But I think that's kind of the point that we want to approach, is just treating it like I'm learning something new on a call with a colleague at work, trying to figure it out, asking questions. And I think we're going to try and make a nice Next.js website that can replace the new Nordev website.
Yeah.
Pull request that just deletes everything and replaces it with this.
Yeah. I mean,
so,
that would get me off the hook for a bunch of stuff, actually.
No, I am poking fun.
Of course.
So I have no preparation for this. There's no script or anything. So we're just gonna
jump in
as if completely fresh. So straight to the docs, I guess. How do we install it? Wonderful.
Straight for yarn.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Always. So we are going to go Nordev next, as in the next website, obviously.
Yeah, the next one, the replacement to the current one. Perfect.
Yep.
I think what might happen now is you're going to create a Next app directory inside Nordev Next with the app in it. If you did // it might put it in this directory actually.
I think dot will work. No?
Dot, yeah, okay, it probably will work.
Make it here.
Yeah, go on, try.
Let's try that.
It probably will work, yeah. Well, I don't know, though. The next app argument is the directory is going to do it in. We'll see. Doesn't matter that much. This is where NPM goes down like it was at 9:30 this morning.
Was it?
Yeah. You see, poor old Phil in the Discord was struggling a bit, trying to install some Firebase NPM libraries and going like, what's going on? It doesn't work. And then I ran it and it worked fine. So I checked the NPM status and NPM was down.
Cool. We have a project.
We do. Cool.
So I've been reliably informed by the internet that I can do this.
You totally can.
Nope,
Oh,
can't do that.
No. That's annoying, isn't it? I thought it set that up automatically.
You have to run the install bash script, which you can get up with show all commands and type like install command line tools or something.
Weird. I've never done that. Maybe I have done that. Maybe it's in my dot file setup. That would make sense.
So we have a project.
Cool.
What I normally do in this situation is just try and find where VS Code puts the terminal.
Oh, press Command J.
Thank you. That's wonderful font there. So what we're going to do, yarn dev. Just run it, see what happens.
Yeah.
It's ready. Cool.
Hey, we're in.
We're done. Right, end of call.
Yeah, done. That was fun.
So does it have hot reloading? That's my next question.
It absolutely should do, yeah.
If I open up, say a page.
Index, yeah.
Underscore app, what is that? So let's okay. Let's try that.
It worked.
It does, it worked. We have a title. Cool. So
that's cool.
I guess we'll leave that running. And what I want to try and do very simply is create a blog. Simple posts page, individual post page, title, content, maybe an author and a date, who knows. And for that we need a a backend, but because I can't make one because I don't know how, I'm going to use a serverless option. So we're going to go for I think Prismic. Sean and I have done a very minimal amount of preparation for this, and we have decided on a serverless CMS that we wanted to use. So I'm going to take a look at Prismic because it has a free tier. Log in. I'm going to create a project, see if we can create a kind of data structure. Never create.
No spaces, perhaps.
Wow. Okay. It's the other way around. There you go. Choose a plan. Okay. Sweet. So this should give us the ability to create any data structure that we want, create custom fields, different types of data structures within each section. Yeah, okay. Great Britain. So we have documents, which is custom types. Custom types. I've never really used this before either, so we're learning everything new.
Yeah.
Custom types, media library, and experiment. What is this? Those are very fun. Okay, so let's build a custom type.
I wonder what the difference is between documents and custom types is.
I think that just because I don't have any types, it's going, just go over here.
Of course, you need to create a type in order to create a document of that type. That makes sense.
Repeatable type, best for multiple instances, blog posts, unique, single page. Okay, repeatable post.
Yep.
Create new custom type. Okay.
Cool.
So now we have somewhat of an editor. I don't know if this is like a WYSIWYG HTML editor or it's creating a data structure, but let's just try.
That's kind of cool. Yeah, it looks like we've got a bunch of different things to add.
Let's start with
really
that.
Good. It's very cost effective as well compared to some of them, like Contentful.
Yeah.
In comparison to this is an absolute ripoff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Contentful is absolutely incredible pricing.
It's like free, $700. Oh.
Okay, so we have a title, we have text,
Nice.
content.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's allow anything in there except maybe titles. There we go.
Oh, you might want titles, surely.
No, let's be mean.
No.
Let's be restrictive.
Just use bold.
Let's not do anything for now. That's the basics.
Yeah. Nice.
Main. What's this?
Oh, I think you want. Can you have you saved it?
Save it. Yeah, I don't really know what the tabs are for.
No.
JSON editor.
Interesting.
All right, we'll deal with that later, I guess. So we've saved it. We have a type of post. So I guess now we go back to documents, and it will actually let us do something. It will.
We can make a
Let's
post.
create a post. It's already got it. We've only got one type, so I guess we can't select what type.
No.
Title. All the reasons no one should use Tailwind. CSS. I'm sorry, it wouldn't be a developer talk if I wasn't inflammatory about tools. There are none. There you go. I've redeemed myself. So that we've saved that, and I guess it's still a draft because it's orange. We have a publish button, so let's publish that.
Do it now.
Yeah, publish it now.
Nice.
So now we need to get that data somehow.
Yeah.
And display it in a page. And I feel like I have skipped away from Next pretty quickly, but I kind of wanted to get this out of the way because this is the data we're going to try and access.
Yeah.
We'll get back to Next at some point.
Yeah, makes sense. What's the Prismic API like?
I know that you can use GraphQL or a standard REST API as you wish.
Interesting. Which should we choose? Should we do REST to start with, and then?
No.
I mean, we could go GraphQL, but then I'm like, we're going to be sitting here talking about whether we use Apollo or something else, aren't we?
This is not the documentation I looked at the other day.
Chris is just going to straight up ignore your question about whether or not to use Graph versus REST.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what.
Sorry, that's not a question. That's not a question. Let's move on to the obvious answer, which is Graph.
That could be, yeah.
GraphQL.
Yeah, we can go like the
so there is.
REST API.
I have had a small look at this, and there is a JavaScript API and just a general REST API.
So there's a library like that where we can just yeah, nice.
Yeah, there is. I think the query strings we have to use are something a little confusing, very specific. I'd rather stick to a standard.
Yeah, sure.
If I can. So we got GraphQL. And to be honest, there's probably an example somewhere. So if I went next, next example, GraphQL maybe.
Oh, I tell you what, there is.
Probably made a repo.
Yeah, there's also a Next.js Prismic repo, which we should probably just look at as well.
Oh, really?
Although maybe that's cheating.
Building GraphQL server in Next. I don't want a server. I wonder if Next has any examples.
Extensive.
Yeah?
Yeah, there's definitely a Prismic one in there somewhere, I think.
Yeah, that's Prismic. We could just check this out and then we're done.
They've included
done.
For you, Chris.
Included Tailwind, yeah. They knew you were coming.
How do I create a pull request?
What were we looking for again?
So we're looking for an example of how to implement or how to get data from the API. So there's a Prismic one here.
Oh, they are using GraphQL. Yeah. Are they using? Oh, they're still using the Prismic client. That's cool. So we'll just use the Prismic client and send it GraphQL. That looks fine. Yeah. Cool.
So in true developer fashion, I think we should just copy paste all of this.
maybe we shouldn't just copy and paste all of it. We should. Well,
this is 10%, 20% of the job, though.
I mean, to be fair, I probably would do most of that. Yeah. Some of it at least.
This looks perfect, to be honest.
Yeah.
I guess this is what the examples are for. So let's just try it.
Yeah, fair point. Fair point.
Where did they put it? Let's have a quick look. They put it in.
That's a fair point, actually. Is my employer still watching? It's like, yeah, I just totally copied the example. I definitely wouldn't write it from scratch.
So they've just put it in glib. I don't like that, so I'm not going to do that. How do I create a folder? This is the first time I've used Visual Code. There you go. Not in pages. How do I select the parent folder? That one?
Just right click on the background.
Yeah.
Below it, yeah.
Folder. So let's go. Oh, file. I'll call it lib. Makes no sense. New file.
Votes in on what you call that directory. I mean, it's yeah. You could just have API.ts in the top level, I suppose, but
possibly, yeah. So we're going to need to install Prismic JavaScript.
Yes.
Don't like typing things myself.
What's Prismic DOM?
We will find out.
Yeah.
Can I tab? No,
Yeah.
make another one. So let's actually yarn add save. There you go. So now we're getting Prismic JavaScript API and Prismic DOM, whatever that's going to do for us. Probably something irrelevant, but it's fine.
Oh, it's stuff for rendering the output by the looks of things.
Yeah, we don't want that, do we? We just want a JSON response and do with it what we please.
Yeah, maybe there's some React components for Prismic we can use for rendering their structured. Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
Yes, maybe there is. Maybe we could create our own.
True.
So where's the example? Let's copy paste the example, which I think is this. So we've got importing Prismic JavaScript, pulling in all of the constants we need, configuring the client, and then creating a function that we can call.
Sure.
With some GraphQL. Pretty standard GraphQL variables. And then all of these, I think, are their example custom functions. So we'll probably be replicating these ourselves for our own use case.
Looks good.
So just as a heads up, I think by default there's it's a public API and you don't have to provide an API token.
Oh, really? That's cool. Nice.
Okay.
I was going to say, because the next thing we're going to do is environment variable configuration.
Yeah. Yeah, so we need a .env. So I don't know if this is supported by default or whether we need a package to do this.
Good question, actually. I am actually going to quickly look that up.
Pretty sure you need a package to support that. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, you can use that.
18
and then we need
downloads.
We'll need to include them in the next config. So I'm gonna pre-look up the docs while Chris is doing the .env thing, and then it'll look like we know what we're doing, but actually it's just teamwork.
All right, so let's add that as well. .env. Dev, I think. Gonna go with it. We can change it.
Yeah, that works.
Cool. So that should now work.
You might need to use it. You might need to call it in the next config. Because
all right.
So next is awkward in this respect because of the server rendering stuff. So there's a little bit of awkwardness around environment variables. You can imagine some of the variables you want to build time for your client package, but other variables you want kept confidential on your server side of the package. You don't want to just be passing your process.env down to the client with all your API secret keys in and things like that.
Okay.
So yeah, there's some configuration in there. And the .env docs, if you still got them open, will have a line we need to put at the top of a next config file, probably.
Alternatively, there's this on the next docs page.
Yes, but in order to get those variables in, you need to run the .env code to load in the .env file.
Okay.
And then
it's not just, you can't just put them in here instead in a
You can, but the .env file won't be on process.env until we call .env, basically. But yes, this is exactly right. So please, yeah, go ahead, follow this example. It's exactly what you need.
All right. Again, copy and pasting code.
Yeah.
Quite literally my job.
Copy paste the examples, run into problems, go to GitHub issues, ask on Stack Overflow.
Now, is that going to have to be?
You need one more closing curly brace, I guess.
No, it's just indented wrong.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah.
Indenting by 4 spaces. What? VS Code. Come on. Okay, fine. Be like that, and then new line. Does this need this, or is it? I think it's fine as an object.
No, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine as it was, I think. It's just defining a name for the value we're going to pass in. So that my value will now be available within the Next app on process.env. So actually we can render that out and try if you like. And I leave, you probably want to leave. Well, actually you don't need to. You can just, So the reason you'd have a .env file is in order to ignore it, right? So you don't want to commit your secrets to Git. Yeah. But you do want to commit your next.config.js to Git. So you don't want to delete your .env. You want to load the environment variables from the .env file. Okay. Although I'm now realizing this is going to cause us problems with Vercel, but we'll worry about that later.
Okay, wonderful. Glad to know that that's coming.
Yep.
So you're saying we put the environment variables in .env, and then in here we load them from process.
Yeah, so in next.config, we'll need to run the .env initializing, basically, that loads the .env file from the file system.
Okay.
So if you go, I mean, what's probably worth doing here is in that next.config.js. Yeah, exactly that. So stuff that at the top of that file, and then your process.env object will contain your .env.
Can we import it like a normal package?
You actually can't in here because this is because it's module.exports. This is what we were talking about in Discord earlier. It's the common JS format. But this is the only common JS one in the whole app. I think everything else is ES modules.
That is fine. So then we're going to go process.env.this.
Yeah.
Cool.
In theory, that should do the trick.
This is where I look silly. Is it colon or equals in an env?
Equals. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And maybe without the space, although I don't know the implication of a space in an environment.
No space.
I think it will get trimmed.
Yeah.
Cool. So now we need to go back to Prismic. And I can just expose my Prismic account tokens.
Yeah. We might as well do this bit because everyone's going to do this. You go and set up a Firebase chatbot, you're going to need to set up all your environment variables and things, I guess.
So API and security. Application name. Surely just our application name.
Yeah. Nordev next
really?
website.
We don't have callback URL. I thought
no, we don't.
Going to be the ID. Application name. Okay, cool. Add this application. So we have some random things.
Yeah. So now everyone watching can copy our tokens and start posting into our posts.
It's cropped. Wow, no, as we found out the other day, I don't think we can push data into Prismic. It's pull only.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
So it should be safe.
Yeah.
So I think we probably need this.
Well, as Colin mentioned, maybe we don't, but let's set it up anyway. We might as well. Now we're here.
I think the section above kind of says it's currently public and that's all you need to worry about. And in terms of getting data in, we've had this problem and you have to pay them more money to get a pro account and then you can do like CSV import and stuff like that. So
this is the trap of the serverless model.
Indeed, it is, yeah.
We'll lure them in with the freemium and then slap a premium on it.
Sorry, just while you're all talking, I'm just going to add semicolons to the end of lines.
Really? Have you thought about using Prettier?
It's not installed. Another layer of complexity we don't need right now. So
fair point.
API token. So I guess we don't need any of this. We need the API URL ref. So we need the repository name, which is going to be
Yeah, good question. Oh,
I have a feeling it's Nordev-Next.
yeah.
I would imagine so.
That
Conveniently,
first part of the subdomain on your URL at the top.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So this really doesn't need to be an EMV at all. It's not a secret.
No, no.
But that's fine.
The next one does, probably, maybe.
So we've got repository name, that's going in there, going in there.
Yeah.
Don't need either of these. We can comment those out.
Looks good. So actually, maybe we didn't need to do any of that stuff.
You're saying we wasted time. Oh dear. Okay.
You may need the locale, but
Let's have a quick look.
we'll soon find out.
Yeah. Hopefully they're oh, it's passing the token as an authorization header down there, and the locale is there as well.
Yeah, I think you can just remove the bearer token bit, but like I say, you may need the locale.
Actually, comment. All right.
It's good as guess as any. It looks right.
Where's that coming from?
Just just stuff it there, right? Oh, perfect. Okay, yeah, might as well. We've set it up.
This is we have not adhered to avoiding hasty abstraction. I should do it. Does it need to be a string, or is it okay as it is?
It is probably okay as it is. I've had lots of problems with people who put strings in before and then having to strip them off.
Cool. We should probably stop this thing that's getting very confused.
Oh yeah, that is the one time you'll have to restart the dev server, is if you change next.config.js.
So let's have a look at the example again. So I think we're at the point where we can call our posts.
Maybe, yeah.
Never know, we might get an error message, but let's find out. So copy paste an example, because I don't like writing things myself.
Yeah, fair.
Another example that's not going to have semicolons. Let me just quickly add those. I'm a sane person. So we need to figure out how to build our posts. I don't know.
Does Prismic has a query testing thing, doesn't it, somewhere?
Possibly. Let's have a look.
Well, I mean, hey, maybe we can just call them. But
I have a feeling it's just GraphQL on the end of the Prismic IO bit. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that's the API one. If you put GraphQL on the end.
Nice.
Sweet.
Nice. Oh, cool.
Why all posts?
Game on.
I think it's called posts. We want posts, surely.
Oh, it might have made the model all posts, but for consistency, I guess, maybe.
What options do we have? Okay. Node. And now posts?
Hey, title, content, perfect.
So has it built, because we've given it the type of posts, it has built all posts. And if we created pages, it would be all pages?
I imagine so, yeah.
That's some sort of magic that's happening.
Yeah, and then you'll be able to do like single page instead of all pages, I assume, unless you have to filter all pages, maybe. I haven't used GraphQL actually that much, but it does seem fairly common to do that. Take the model name and then prepend all to it.
I like to try and get to a specific article if I can, rather than clicking through links. So underscore all, okay. I'm probably skipping ahead too quickly. All published documents in the repository. Okay, that's a nice helper. By custom type.
I think that'll get it. I think that'll get it regardless of the post type, right?
All documents. Yeah, I think that gets literally everything that's configured in the backend, I would imagine.
See, yeah, I wonder if you can run that. See if you can run it.
Yeah, might as well try. Yep.
Yes. Cool.
Since we only have one type at the moment, let's just use that instead of trying to do it properly.
Does it give you access to the fields on it? If you try content and title.
Yeah, should do. I'll try it in the browser, but I'm going to add it there for now because I'm assuming that it will work. Nope, not type name. Don't care about that.
I think now, because we're looking at all document types, it can't autocomplete.
Wonderful. I was hoping I could shortcut this.
Yeah. But then if you change all documents back to all pages, it should work again. Maybe without the underscore. Yeah. Hey. Yeah. Cool.
Spans.
Yeah, oh yeah, and there's the kind of markup stuff with the kind of structured HTML in JSON.
Okay. So that's what we're going to get back. So let's try this. Get all posts.
Nice.
Oh. Okay, sorry. Tabs 2, perfect. Perfect, wonderful. So we can indent that again. So now get all posts is what we want to use. All post. Oh, so it's going to return. They've already configured it to return just the array as opposed to all of the rest. So that's cool.
Nice.
So now we have
I
to
have a
import that
feeling we
somewhere.
need to add in your next config that extra locale environment variable.
Did we not? Do we need to?
Oh yeah,
change?
good point. Good call. Yeah, that's true.
In the next
exactly
config.
the same way.
Good
Yeah.
point. Cool.
Nice.
Now run it again.
Obviously,
it's not going to give us any posts at the moment because we've not called it.
Yeah.
But
we've
at least got it set up.
We haven't broken next before we try and add this in, which is always a good thing to check.
Is that just a warning? That's just, yeah, we can ignore that.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. Maybe you need to install like the watcher thing or something, but don't worry about it now.
So let's create a new page. So we have, what's app.js?
That's just the global kind of wrapper for things you need on all pages. So maybe leave that for now. Index is probably good. We should delete their default stuff maybe and just use that.
Oh, it's always fun doing that.
Yeah. Nice.
What? Okay, VS Code. Bad editor. Okay, cool. I'm not being inflammatory at all.
No.
Div.
Okay. Yeah, here's our posts page.
Article. H1. Title here.
Nice.
Content here.
Sweet.
Cool. Save that and take a look.
Game on.
I think we're done.
Yeah. All right. See you all next week.
So now we need to get the data. So I'm assuming we need to import this. Like that. Oh, this semicolons thing is driving me insane. Okay. Also, I'm going to change this because I don't like that syntax. Just me being picky, sorry. Cool. I don't like writing out the word function. Seems redundant. So we've got get all posts. Now we need to use it. So let's figure out how next serverless function. It's a little bit of a shortcut because I already know that the thing exists, but
you need to look for, you need to find get static props, I think.
Okay. data fetching. I think the term to Google there would have been next data fetching, or just next get data.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, WordPress. Let's not use Prism. Let's use WordPress. Alex will love that.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Rejig the.
Oh, I can't go back.
Events.
There we go. So, these are the examples.
Yeah, don't look at the examples. Go down and look at the get static props.
So get static props.
Yeah.
So I think this is what you were talking about earlier.
Yes, this is where the magic of
the
Next
static generation. So if you export an async function called get static props, it will pre-render the page at build time. Sweet. Again, copy paste the code. And I'm going to put it in here.
Yep.
And
that props object literally gets passed to the home component as its props, which is kind of cool.
Okay, sorry. So we've got a function called getStackProps, and it will return whatever we tell it to return. So in here, we need to do something with get all posts.
Exactly. Nice.
What else can you return? This is just an object. What else can you return from that?
Just that. It just gives it props. You can do props per route as well. Oh yeah,
okay, so that's maybe a little bit more complex. Let's ignore that for now.
We can play with that later because it'll be really interesting, especially if we manage to deploy the thing, which we'll see if we get there today.
Yeah,
perhaps not.
So let's. That's not what I wanted. Get all posts. I think this is probably going to expect. Why can't I go to it?
Good question.
Do I have to?
You probably need to await it, yeah.
Import it like this.
Oh, was it the? Oh.
When I control click it, it's not going to it. Is that not a thing
in VS
Code?
I don't know. It usually should work, yeah.
Well, we're gonna stick with this for now.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that doesn't work. Strangely, try clicking on the API.
Sorry, does this have to be relative? I'm not used to.
Oh, perhaps it does. Yeah, it probably does unless you configure it.
Perfect.
Yeah,
wonderful.
We can fix that with a simple config change, but won't worry about it now. I guess
doesn't seem important right now. Get all posts. That's probably going to expect. No, it's not expecting anything. Cool. So that will just return what we want. We can close it out. We don't need that. So that should now just be what we want. Good old console log.
Yeah.
That's a little bit big. Page cannot be
Sweet, we broke it.
404, that's a really helpful error.
Where's the dev
what's
server?
in here? Cannot resolve
lib API.
You haven't saved it.
Oh, Chris, it's a TypeScript file being imported into a JS file.
And it's not saved.
Is that not acceptable? SS. Nope.
Go away, VS Code.
stop trying to help me.
Changing the extension isn't going to change its paths anyway.
All right. What do you mean I haven't saved it, Alex?
It was unsaved earlier.
I guess it was red. Yeah, you might be right.
Oh, are the files in VS Code not automatically saved when you switch tabs?
No.
Okay.
I used to have that on, and that ran in PHP Storm, and ended up losing a bunch of code because it overwrote the file I was working on in another editor with a version from like 2 hours before when I alt-tabbed into IntelliJ, and that was not a good experience. So,
okay.
Did we install Prismic JavaScript?
I thought we did.
Yeah, that's weird. Apparently not.
Apparently not. I guess it was an error that I ignored.
Yeah, weird.
Let's go back to that. Add Prismic JavaScript. production, I guess. Yeah. Well, we have it now.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Ooh.
Nothing in the console.
Interesting. Because it will be server side. It'll be in the terminal. Hopefully.
In here.
Yes, there it is. Look. Oh, it's a promise though, so you need to await it. But other than that.
Okay. Okay. That's going to catch me out if I'm trying to debug things in Next.
Yeah, this gets me a lot when I'm trying to trigger console logs in get static props. I was going to pick this up a moment ago, but obviously it gets rendered, and then it will serve you a cached version and stuff. So in dev, it can be quite painful.
I think if you hit the page again, then it will spit it out for you.
Visit that page to trigger the get static.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, it is a bit of a paradigm shift in a weird way, but you very quickly get used to the idea that if you're using hot refresh or fast refresh, you'll get your console logs in the browser console. But then if you refresh the page, you'll get those logs in your server console. And it's a bit weird because you're not used to the JavaScript running in both places. You're like, either it's a server log on my PHP logs or it's a browser log in the JavaScript. But this is, it is a bit confusing. Hey, Chris, you've done it. Nice.
Have. Passing it through now. I need to figure out how to get the props onto the component.
It's literally just as a prop called posts.
Right, but we need to pass it to the component, right?
No. It's done. That's what get static props does. So you can literally deconstruct posts from in the home
in here
component. Yep.
But we haven't told it to do that.
You have by returning the props. That function returns the props that are given to the page.
Right,
I know it's magic.
We haven't used this function yet. It's magic.
It is absolutely magic. Yes.
Okay, so it's framework magic.
Yes. Like this is the thing about Next.js. Like it only offers very, very limited API. And in fact, the only things that go in your component is these three functions that we are going to use today. Other than that, it doesn't really do anything that affects how you work, which is why I like it.
Okay.
Yeah, nice.
Just gonna assume this works.
Can't see why not.
They should have a unique key prop. Of course it should.
Of course it should. But we don't have a key, so we might have to just use the title. Oh, do we have the ID? Maybe we do.
Use post. I think it was underscore meta we saw in the thing earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Cannot read property ID of undefined. Sure. So it wasn't meta.
No.
Let's have a look at what it actually was. It was meta.
Weird. Okay, that's weird. Yeah. Maybe it doesn't come back with our other query. Oh, look, the meta is explicitly requested on the left. Did we include that in our query? Yes. Huh.
I'm just going to put spaces in here because. Yeah, so that we should have that.
You would have thought so, yeah. If the query runs.
Maybe it's not going to allow us to do that, and we need to do array access instead.
Oh, maybe underscore after a dot isn't good. Yeah, that might be.
Yeah.
Good. Nope.
Okay. Well.
Interesting. What's going on there?
We're just gonna put the title in there.
You can see it in the console log in the terminal, just there.
Are you able to console log in the map there?
Am I able to what, sorry?
Are you able to console log within the map function? Would that help?
Everything is inside Node. So it's
no, but look, Alex, look, post.title works, which is also inside Node.
Yeah, I'm going to format it. I'm sorry, I can't not waste time, maybe, but I can't look at code that isn't formatted right.
Yeah. That's why he's prettier.
Yeah, well, ESLint would do it for me normally.
Right.
So we're going to have a look at what that is. And is that going to come out in here or on the front end? I'm thinking front end. Yeah. Post. Node content.
Now
title,
it's in Node.
Method. So we're going to have to do something interesting here because these are giving us back DOM elements, I think, somehow.
Yeah, those are structured markup things. That's what the
this is in here.
Prismic DOM does probably. I think maybe Alex is right then. Maybe it is in Node. Sorry. I think he's right. I was assuming that it wasn't erroring on the title, but actually it totally was. You need to add Node before each one, I think. Alex was bang on.
Oh, you mean Node
Or yeah. So
Sorry,
your post is actually a Node. Yeah.
You could deconstruct it in
Yeah.
the first map call. No.
Let's make this super readable. Oh, no, I think it. No, I think it's
yeah, that one.
Yeah.
In the map.
Bingo. Yeah, nice.
Okay, that should work. Let's refresh. Get rid of all this.
Object's not valid as a React child.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's because we this is.
Oh yeah, oh wait, no, it's not.
Oh, we're not even getting the output. So let's go. I think it was an array.
Yes, an array
was
with
a 0.
It's got the heading.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. So this will be where the Prismic DOM stuff comes in. There'll be a component, hopefully, or a Prismic React library that renders these without us having to like cater for a paragraph and span and headers and stuff. We may want to see if there's Prismic. Is there a Prismic React thing? Let's have a look. Because you don't really want to be doing that DOM stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a Prismic-React.js library, which includes a rich text component.
Perfect.
Yeah, nice.
How do we use it? Rich text, wonderful.
So with a bit of luck, we can just pass that the whole post, and it'll just, or at least the content thing, and it'll do the trick.
And while we're at it,
oh, what's coming? Oh, yeah, okay.
Don't need that anymore.
Always good to clean up after yourself.
Import rich text from Prismic React.js. And then how do we use that?
Good question.
Cool. Not sure what link resolver is.
No, what is that? Oh, interesting. So it will support links in there as well somehow. Okay, yeah. Now that works.
What was it? Sorry, rich text render post.title. And we'll copy that. Actually, I actually closed the process, so let's start the process again.
Nice.
Leave the console logs in. You've got to have something for reviewers to tell you to take out when you're making pull requests.
Like the pink rabbit in the presentation.
Yeah.
Hey.
Wonderful.
Bingo.
We have posts, or a post.
Oh, cool. Now we can go and add another one in Prismic and prove it works.
Documents, create new. What should we call it? This is another post. I'm super inventive today.
Mm-hmm. Maybe try some like bold text and italics and stuff annoyingly in there just to see how good that renderer is. I'm sure it can handle it.
Cool. Right. How can we ruin this? Bold, italic. Let's put a link in.
Yeah, nice.
To what kind of, just a link? Oh, okay. Link to the web.
You can link to another one of the documents in the in Prismic.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, which is what that link resolver is for.
Yeah, makes sense. Nice.
I look bad right now. I don't know what the Norfolk Developers website is.
It's norfolkdevelopers.com.
Okay.
You could have guessed that.
Page. How else going to ruin it? Is there anything else I can do here?
Well, lists and stuff, I guess. I mean, putting in a picture is probably asking a bit much at this point, but
okay.
Who knows?
Okay,
it might be good.
Save that. Publish.
Sweet.
Is that going to do it automatically? It is.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
So what is the interval that Next is regenerating all the pages?
So at this point in development, it's calling that get static props every time you hit refresh in development. If you run yarn build, it will generate it once only, and then give you an HTML file to deploy. And then it will never update it again with this method until you build again and deploy it again.
Perfect. So I've got a question. This is statically generating pages, and we're running it locally, so we should have the server side. So I'm assuming that there should be some .html files in here somewhere that we can look at.
They might, yeah, they're probably in that .next directory at the top. That's where all the output goes. Static, I guess. Yeah. Probably in the dev folder. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe not.
No. Pages.
It might be in there somewhere. I don't know.
Kind of expecting to see some .htmls.
To be honest, I don't know. If you run yarn build though, it will certainly create them somewhere. Not sure where.
Let's try it. Why not?
Yeah. It'll also give you a nice output of the files that it creates, which will, I guess, at this point be just index.js.
So I'm conscious that we're running a little bit out of time. What I do want to do is make an individual post page.
Yeah.
So it's because we can use get static paths to generate, I think, a list of pages. If you give it an array, it'll figure that out for you.
Exactly. Yeah, and we can. It's very similar. So we can very much do almost this. It's just the next step. So yeah, if we create like a posts or a single post page, so we're going to need an ID. Oh no, actually we don't. We need a posts for all posts page to generate those pages, don't we?
Let's just make a new file. Post.
Yeah.
JS.
Perfect.
And
you kind of need. Actually, no, you don't need any of the home component, but
this is how I create every component ever.
Yeah, just copy and paste the last one. Oh, it does the job, doesn't it? Because you're writing everything out again.
So we need to get single post.
No, actually. Interestingly, you don't, because what you want to do in this file is generate, if you've got 10 posts, you actually want to instruct this page to generate 10 pages. And in order to do that, you actually do still need to get all of the posts. So you need to get, what we're going to do is we're going to get all of the posts. We're going to use that post object to figure out what URLs we want, probably just the meta ID thing. And then we will get the static props for each of the pages. So we may want to do a get single posts, but actually with 2 posts, we might as well just get all the posts and loop over them.
I'm losing where I am right now. This is.
You also need to use the square bracket syntax on that page.
Yeah, for the array of paths and array of props. That's correct. Yeah, definitely.
So we need to use get static paths to get the list of pages that need to be generated.
Yeah, so that array, that paths array, each post will have a params, which will basically just be the ID, I think.
Okay.
And if we need to reference, we can look at the Nordev. Oh, actually, no, we can't. because it's abstracted into a stupid library, isn't it now?
So get static paths. So we need to
I refer you back to the norfolkdevelopers.com open source project that is a fantastic example of how to use Next.js.
Except it's not, because it's this bit is yeah.
That was the joke.
Oh, I see. Sorry. I'll laugh next time, I promise.
So do I use get static paths in conjunction with get static?
Yes. So get static paths and get static props go hand in hand. You use get static paths to say, okay, I need to make a number of paths. So that example right at the bottom of your screen now, where it's saying params ID1, ID2, is basically saying there's going to be a post with ID1, there'll be a post with ID2, and you can generate as many as you want of those. And then in the get static props, you will accept that param of 1 or param of 2 and generate a page for it with the data for that ID. So we've got all the posts here. Basically what we want to do is make that paths array return an array of IDs from the posts object, if that makes sense. So I guess map over them and yeah, just grab the IDs.
We know this has a node in it. We'll rename it to posts and then do something with it. I do need to put that in parentheses. So we need to return objects.
Yeah, an object with basically something that says so ID is like what your parameter will be on your route. So it's the same as what you would put in like a React router parameter, basically. You'd be like, okay, the post ID. Yeah, pretty much exactly like that.
And
then just give it that. And delete the broken example.
do we need this fallback? Is that required?
I think you can leave it for now. Oh, it is required. No, ignore me. Just make it false for now.
Wrong buttons, Chris.
Oh, it sucks changing ID, doesn't it? I feel your pain.
Yep. Okay. So then how do we use the returned paths? So do I have paths in here somewhere?
So that get static props are I can't remember off the top of my head, but effectively you'll get so this get static props will get called once for every item in the paths array and give it the params you gave it. So yeah, your get static props basically accepts the parameter of the ID of the post and gets the details of that post. So actually you were actually bang on with your get one post earlier. Yeah. So that's what you need to do.
I need to do another request to get.
Yeah, you do need to do your get single post in there. But it will receive I guess it'll be context dot whatever it was.
So this was params, right? Or was it deconstructed? It was deconstructed.
Deconstructed, yeah.
Okay.
And then you'll get post param ID, I guess.
Yeah. Perfect.
But you do now need a single post function, which I told you not to do. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. Did I rename that wrong? I did. Get post. Oh, it keeps renaming it.
That was weird. Yeah, what happened there?
Cool.
Nice.
Get post. So now we need to do this again. And now we need to figure out how the GraphQL API works with requesting. I'm guessing there's going to be some sort of variables I can pass in here to only get a single post, because this didn't seem to work in the Explorer.
I guess Explorer it is.
Post.
Is it all post with just an ID passed in or something?
Yeah, could be. How do we get the ID?
Good question. I guess you just console logged a bunch of them out. Oh, there it is. That probably is it.
That
maybe.
That might be my token.
Yeah.
Who knows? Let's find out.
Yeah, could be what you want. Hey, looks good.
Cool. Wonderful.
Nice.
It's not getting an ID, is it? ID. String.
Perfect. Oh no.
Sorry. I'm used to TypeScript.
Yeah, me too. It's funny how you get in the habit.
Okay.
Nice.
I do like to rename things, but it is get post, and it makes sense. We're going to return that. So that should just return 1. It'll still be an array. We'll have to access. Yeah. But that should work. So post.
Get post, params ID, props, post. I mean, yeah.
Let's just cheat and do that.
And then rename it post. Nice.
Post, props, post.
People who dislike destructuring are hating you right now.
Okay.
I don't think such a person exists. Does it, Sean?
No,
have you been to the internet, Alex?
It's not particularly.
There's only one opinion.
I get it.
Structuring it for all.
So yarn dev.
Yeah, let's see how broken we did it. I think you might have nailed it first time, you know. Right on cue.
Too soon.
Yeah, sorry, just jinxed it.
I do have the problem. I don't know how to get to it.
Oh yeah. This is where we need the dynamic. Yeah, that'll probably no, it won't, because we need to set up the dynamic page routing just quickly. Classic, as you always do.
Dynamic page routing. Okay. Next.
So you're gonna hate this probably.
You're assuming that I'm gonna hate something.
Yeah.
Would I ever?
Okay. Yeah, there it is. Consider the following page. Just above that example in pink.
Is that the name of the file I have to give it?
I'm afraid so, yeah. I mean, it will be ID. Yeah.
This workshop's over. No one should use that. Wow, okay.
This is one of the most contentious issues of Next, but so far everyone who's hated it, including me, I didn't use it for about 3 months because of that.
I'm actually curious. If I went post,
yeah,
what has that created?
Just a
file.
Just a random file. Yeah.
Okay. Move to trash. New folder. There you go. Post. If I created index.js, could I put this in it?
Yes.
Would that work?
It will, but it won't work with the ID. It'll work if you visit post/index and then go no ID, or basically.
Okay, so if I rename this, is it ID?
Yeah. But
I need to do the user router thing.
No, I don't. I think that ID value from that file will be passed into as the parameter. So this is actually I'm glad we got here, because this is really important. You can see how get static paths generates a list of pages and says there'll be an ID parameter that will allow you to request the data for each of these paths that will exist on the website. And then for each of those, there's the get static props, and it goes, okay, for each of the parameters that are going to be available, get the post. And that parameter will come from the URL according to which page you visited, which will be the link that you clicked on, the post that you clicked on, effectively.
Okay.
So in order to add navigation, we'll need to use the next link component, which you're also probably going to hate now I think about it, because of the way the anchor tags work.
I think it's going to be posts and then that ID.
Yes, quite right.
Yeah, nice. Moment of truth. Server error. Oh, default export's not. Did we export post from that file?
No, I exported home because I'm a genius. That is what happens when you copy paste.
Copy and paste, yeah.
Oh. All right.
And
let's
still
just
not
close
correct.
it and rerun it. See what happens. Turn it off and on again.
Maybe it got confused. Oh, something's happening. 404. Okay, so that post didn't load for some reason. I'm now worried that I've told you wrong how to do it.
Can't resolve. Oh, okay. This is why absolute pathing is far superior.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely agreed. You're like, find it.
Yeah.
Where is it? Is it up 3 or up
okay.
2?
Can't resolve. Okay.
It's up to.
Yeah.
I did that, but it only auto-completed API, so I thought I was in pages.
Get post is not exported from lib API. Did it rename it back to get posts again or something?
And herein lies the reason I use Sublime Text.
No, it's
What is the
there.
advantage of Sublime in this case?
Wouldn't have just gone refactoring my method.
Did you
name,
save it?
renaming other stuff.
Did I save it?
That's a good
call.
question. He's in the habit of not saving, so that would make a lot of sense.
No, I just switch back. As soon as I switch tab, everything gets saved.
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
Okay, cool. Error message. Additional keys were returned. URL parameters
Returned something wrong. You can get static paths.
Keys that need to be moved. ID. Okay.
Looks like IDs to apply.
That's our post ID though.
URL parameters intended for this dynamic group must be nested under the params key.
Oh, is it? Did we not add the params key?
This is the params key now.
Or did we only add one params key instead of a params key for each of the paths? That might be it.
Oh.
In fact, there is no params key at all. Yes,
So you need to return it for each one.
That looks like it should be right, I think. Failed to fetch API. Interesting. Okay, so at least we've advanced a little bit. So now we're in the API.js file. And we're in get static props trying to call that fetch function.
28.
Yeah, interesting. Status was not 200. So is our GraphQL query correct?
API.js hasn't been saved, if that's of any merit.
Is that what the dot means?
That might do it.
VS Code is getting uninstalled after this.
Yeah. And since we're not even using the live share stuff, we didn't need to use it for you to use VS Code. You could have just used your normal IDE and saved yourself a lot of bother.
Don't point that out.
Yeah, sorry.
So I'm
okay. So what
that's just not useful at all. Let's have a look. API requests.
So if res status is not equal to 200, so that indicates, yeah, that it's because it's server side. You won't see it in there. I'm sorry.
Did you try running that query against GraphQL, like in the little inspector, the one with the $ID one? Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Try that.
Oh yeah, that's it. Good spot.
I didn't stringify it.
Did you save the file?
Did I save the file? Yeah.
Ah, now we've got a serialization issue. Reason undefined cannot be serialized as JSON. Please use null. Okay, so one of our posts that we've declared in the paths doesn't actually exist. That doesn't seem likely.
Really?
That's kind of what it's saying. It's basically saying one of our array of paths is undefined, and it's kind of freaking out over that for some reason.
So
yeah,
I'm just going to reach for what I know here. I'm going to have a little console log of paths.
Oh, you've got to put brackets around meta again. You put meta under after a dot.
No, I don't think that was the problem last time.
I thought we said the underscore was causing issues.
We tried.
No, I don't think that was the issue.
Oh, was it?
We did try that because we didn't know if it was, but I don't think it was. I mean, now it's probably going to turn out that it was, and you're absolutely right, Kev.
So there's 2 IDs, which is right.
And nothing that says undefined in there.
Oh, yeah. So that's
weird. That's weird. Okay, so what's wrong with that? Open params, object ID, close. Post. Yeah. Error serializing dot post, which is the. Okay, so is post the one in get static props? See if the post in get static props is correct. Maybe one of those isn't working. Maybe the params are wrong. I'm not sure.
I can't type. Really can't type.
Sorry, I'll probably be in the terminal again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I thought I was editing the component.
Post undefined. So that get post function is failing for some reason. Still. Do we have the params? Are the params correct?
Let's have a look.
Well, that was quick. Nice.
Params, yeah, we got that. That's fine. Result. There's node. Yeah, that seems
interesting.
Seems right.
It does. And then post is not defined.
Node. We can just pass node in. I don't mind. I was just renaming it to try and be increase the readability.
Yeah, you need to change it on line 24.
It is undefined.
Oh yeah.
Is the result an array? Does it need to be?
Oh, it is an array. That's a good point.
So
Oh,
it
it's
needs
not.
to be
Is it not?
result 0.
Is it not the first one? Yeah, we want to get the first. Try. No, because it would log out array instead of undefined, wouldn't it?
Sorry, I'm just going to try and shortcut it with a little deconstruction.
Yeah. I mean, if that's the problem, that would potentially work, but it's...
Post, yeah, node. There we go. That works.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if I can then do that just to make it super readable for everyone.
All the brackets on one line.
Sorry.
I think you might have cracked it.
Oh, I just control
Oh.
queued the local host.
Yeah.
Oh, I need the ID again.
Yeah.
Post.
Ah, so close. What's posts? Oh, it's still looping over. We need to render a single post now in the component.
Oh yeah. Easy peasy.
Nice. All right, I think we're there. Come on.
Yay,
Hey.
we have a blog.
There you go.
There's no links, but we have a blog.
No, but we can add links in like 2 minutes. Let's do it. Look up next link. Just so you can hate on the anchor tag, and then I guess we can wrap up. It'll take 2 minutes.
Perfect, absolutely.
It'll be a great place to stop to be able to click between those posts.
Okay, we're going to import that. I'm not even going to read the docs. I'm just going to import things.
Just blindly follow.
Link. VS Code, please stop. Okay, and then where do we need to send that to?
Yeah. Ooh, here it comes. Here it comes. Oh, I wonder if this is going to work. Actually, it will work. I think it will work.
Post, and then we need to put in the ID, which will be post_meta.id.
It's perfect.
Should.
You've got one more thing.
Words.
You're going to need to do the horrible thing. That's one last thing that you're going to hate.
Ready?
Yeah. In those docs.
So I can't just click the tile. Okay.
Not yet. I'm so sorry.
So what do I have to do?
Look what's inside the link tag in that example. It's an anchor without an href.
Let's start again. No.
This is like how to do server rendering in Create React app and get me out of this hell.
I'd end up back at Next. Okay, so I need to do.
You have to just have an empty anchor tag, which will trigger all number of ESLint errors.
Yeah.
But it nonetheless will work. Boom.
It took a while, but we got there.
Yeah, and the reason it took a while is because it did a full page reload rather than the client-side navigation.
Oh yeah, so it pulled the generated HTML and then hydrated it afterwards again.
Yeah, so maybe one last thing. If you go back to those docs, there's one last thing we can do to make it do only client-side navigation between posts, which will make it fast, which is the as parameter. You might need the example. Is there an as in the example? Yeah.
Control F. Okay.
Do you see that example where it's the same as ours, where the href is the post and then the square bracket file name, and then the as is actually the link.
Wrong file. So we're going to do this.
Yeah, if you rename, yeah. And then you need to change the href to be, instead of
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, to be basically the square file like you've got in the file system.
Okay. Neat.
Bingo. Yeah. And so that allows it to route locally client side.
And that should be much quicker.
Should be.
So when I click on the link, it should not have to do a full. Yeah, wonderful. It was slightly quicker.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back and click it again, it's cached the build in equivalent. Because if you obviously you generate all these pages up front as static HTML, in development, it's kind of generating those on the fly the first time. And then until the file changes, it will just navigate between them much quicker. Although it might still do a check to see if you did change the file, I'm not sure. And then if you go into the terminal and just run yarn build, it will give us, maybe remove some of the console logs just for completeness and tidy it up, and we'll get a nice output of all the pages we've generated, which will have our 2 static post pages, which will be really cool.
Don't need that.
Yeah.
Actually, no, that's part of what we got from the example. We'll keep that. So there's no console logs, I don't think.
Perfect.
Yarn build.
So if all goes to plan, this should render our static index.js file to HTML with a list of posts in it. And then it should create a page for each of those posts that come out of Prismic. There we go.
I'm curious where these posts go, though.
Yeah.
Where they're saved. Because you said it generates static HTML, right? So
it does, yeah.
we looked in here and they're all.
They will now be in there because we did run it somewhere. They'll be in that hash directory, that one. Oh, what the hell? Weird. Okay, shows I don't know how it works. I haven't looked. It will be in there somewhere.
Oh, well,
absolutely. Yeah. They'll be around somewhere. They're in there somewhere.
Pages.
Yes.
There we go.
There they are. Found it.
And then that has a script in it that will hydrate the page.
Yeah.
And allow it to act as a single page app. Cool.
Yeah. Just stuff those on any CDN you like, and off you go. And then, of course, if you change things, you can regenerate them. And then, and then there's the feature on top. We can add in a little argument to basically force it to update those at an interval. So we can say you update it every 60 seconds, call these data fetching functions again, and regenerate those static pages. But
maybe that's a topic for a second call
for another day.
Deploying it to Vercel.
Yeah, that's probably a good place to go. Nice one. That was cool.
That Netlify as well, if you can, because I don't want to pay for sales bill.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
Okay.
That was awesome.
Yeah, nicely done, Chris. That was really cool.
So it's somewhat of a very quick debrief. I know we were already at an hour and a half, but I see the power in it. I see the power in what it can do, and the hosting builds that would cost you statically generating instead of generating on every request.
Yeah.
It is a little bit difficult to develop for when you're trying to console log things and debug things.
Maybe, yeah.
I can see that being a pain going forward.
Yeah.
That's my first impression. I can see the power, but it's a little bit annoying.
That's a good summation.
Yeah.
To be fair, that's how I felt. But I tell you what, I was trying to do server rendering by myself, like trying to build my own Express server that did server rendering before Next came out, and it was significantly worse. So I guess maybe with that introduction, it was a breath of fresh air. But yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. It's a bit of a weird, confusing thing that doesn't make any sense, because you're like, where am I expecting to see these things? And it's in a different place every time, but you get used to it.
Yeah.
That was really cool. Nicely done.
Yeah, thanks. That was a great introduction. Do we have any questions, I guess, off the back of that? Any?
Good question.
I've put out the same request on YouTube as well. So
I mean, I just take that to mean that we covered it in the right.
Yeah, no questions is not necessarily a bad thing. All right. Well, yeah, again, thanks, Chris. Thanks, Sean. It was very interesting. It was quite, like you alluded to at the start, we're trying to run a little bit less perfect sessions of perfect code, everything going perfectly well, to help with some of that imposter syndrome that we all suffer with on a regular basis. Yeah, thank you. I'm going to say our goodbyes to YouTube. Yeah, no questions on there. So bye-bye, YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, like the videos and all that jazz. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Okay, we're clear. We can